So I know I recently covered it with when I found out that apparently Welsh Labour are using satellite technology to spy on homeowners. Remember, we're not talking Google Maps here where you go to satellite view and you can only go in so far. No, they get the detail, yeah. And they're doing this for revenue generation. It's people by and large pay more than enough in council tax, and I would always argue that it shouldn't be a thing. After all, why, when you're being forced to pay directly and indirectly taxation to, well, a supposed national government who, well, for a start, it's not working in your interest, but, as I said, stop paying any of those taxes and it soon goes south for you, yeah? But on top of that, you're also paying local taxes. Well, whether you own a house or not, just being having a roof over your head, well, we were gonna have to charge you for that as well. And people could say, well, look, it's for council services. Yeah. Back in the day, that used to just be about, well, emptying bins, make sure the streets are clean, libraries that they exist, etc. And then slowly over time, there was more council services and more money spent on so many other things because they were extracting it out of you and I, yeah? But it's never enough. And remember, factor in Agenda 21. I know there's so few people that talk about that these days because, no, we've moved on. You're dealing with now generations of people that go, oh, no, it's called something else now, so well, let's look. But, sometimes the detail is in the original goals and what they are basically rolling out the goals of, yeah. And now they term it things like Agenda 2030, and I've always said, look, it gives people a lot of apathy because they think, oh, but don't worry, it's not happened for at least another 6 years. And I've said every recent year, look around you. And we're only in 2024. Although in some respects you're like, God almighty. But yeah, the apathy in the many, even those who perceive that they are awake, or profess to be, and many of them, well, they don't want to talk about Agenda 21 because, as I said, they've been programmed to whatever it's called now. We're new, we're enhanced, we're advanced, we're whatever. It is a frustration, one amongst many, but yeah, it is a complex subject, but yeah, another story. Don't you dare touch our council tax. Voters warn Sir Keir. Poll shows more than half of Brits oppose reassessing ban, saying it would be an excuse to charge more. And think about it. This is more than half of Brits. Now think about that. You can't say that more than half of Brits who own property have got a really large property. It's not the case, right? And even just now, there is many properties that one of the primary reasons they still sit on the market, I mean, some of them exceptional properties, is what's tied to them, the council tax band, yeah? I could even give you examples, for example, Peebles in the Scottish borders. And I can show you so many properties where you're like, what? Council tax ban G? Really? And they're the ones that struggle over time. This is more and more of a thing, and it discourages people to have a decent sized property, and it heads towards that. By 2030, you'll own nothing and be happy. So even those who have assets want to downsize because they can no longer afford. And remember, bills are expensive enough, yeah, of which they're constantly paying tax on. But this is it. You pay road tax and they tell you it's not for the roads. And although they say Labour, does it really matter? Whoever gets in, they'll pull that shit. The only party apparently that would be against that is Reform. And look, I always say all sides are control, but if we're talking about genuinely buying time, I would say Reform's about the best option. I'm not going to go into great detail about it, but I wouldn't have thought it was rocket science, given what they're saying. And let's face it, if they failed on all of that, well, at least you'd know it doesn't matter who you vote for. It's fair enough, yeah? But let's go to comments. One poll just released now has Reform at 24% and the Tories down to 15%. Something absolutely seismic is happening in British politics, and not before time. You know, I've actually, funnily enough, I felt for the last week or two, at least, that even although Farage himself says, look, we're not going to gain anything, but, you know, by 2029, and look, I see all signs are bought and paid for, but I still suspect that many people underestimate how frustrated the majority are when they're seeing what's happening on the day-to-day. I've given examples recently with the SNP. Vote us in, essentially, to continue to, well, you know, basically destroy your lives, yeah? Not exactly the greatest selling, but it's the reality of it. Another comment, we have a situation here that the public are prepared to vote for policies they don't agree just to punish the Tories for their shortcomings. Mind you, that mindset is an awful lot of what you could successfully argue is low IQ'd individuals out there collectively, which are more focused on what's happening on, for example, Coronation Street than what's truly happening around them. But you could say I'm generalizing, and yeah, I would say to a point you're right, but there is an awful lot of them with that mindset because they're so well, the rich can pay for that, but it's not really the rich that are paying for it. It's the middle class and even many who are working class who've just managed to, through hard graft and all the rest of it, generally have a place of their own. Yeah, I could do a better job of this. Believe me, I've had several attempts of it and I was actually going to give an example of a property, although initially what you could perceive as, well, that's quite expensive, but council tax band C. But I would still say it's fair considering where it's at, the expense of living there, which obviously they have to factor in their property, and so many other things, because I would argue the council can actually offer many services to that location. Anyway, as I said, it's a very complex subject, and I look forward to your comments and your thoughts, and I'll speak to you soon.